So we'd been living in a converted builder's van, no windows in the back, fully panelled. It was essentially a panel van. Had a bed and a kitchen and everything that we needed in it, and we travelled around the country, and it was great for that. The reason for the purchase was it was the cheapest thing available for a long way around, and we were able to get this without planning permission or anything, and we just knew that it was within our means.
So it was a completely derelict newsagent shop. There was a felt roof that was leaking essentially, and they actually had the pot noodles and the Snickers bars still on the shelf, and it had been like that for 10 years. We wanted to live within our means and also constrain ourselves in terms of the amount of materials that we'd gather, I suppose. And we felt that this property offered us everything we needed to live, and more actually, in terms of space and in terms of possessions and luxuries that we hadn't been used to having over the course of the previous 2 or 3 years. So the plot cost us £33,500. We spent £35,000 total for all the build costs. The existing newsagent shop we gutted completely. We were left with the 4 cavity walls in the end. We took off the roof, we dug out the existing floor. Because at this stage, post-planning, we decided to do it to Passivhaus principles to make a really comfortable house. The building isn't Passivhaus certified, we should make that clear. It's built to Passivhaus principles, and that informed a few big decisions about what work we had to do to the property, and certainly made it more rigorous what we had to do. So we dug out the existing slab to put 200mm of insulation underneath the slab. That gives us, with this concrete finish that we've gone for, a nice big bit of thermal mass. When the sun shines in, that's warming it up and acting as a radiator without the need for any underfloor heating. It still retains its heat very well because it's not losing it to the ground. Then we insulated the existing walls with Celotex, a kind of traditional construction, and filled the existing cavity. Yeah, and then we put the first floor extension on to obviously add enough space, and that's what we thought was within the kind of constraints of what planners would allow, and also what we thought was necessary to make the kind of building viable.
So because we were limited on space, and particularly the ridge of the building had to be kept to about the same height as the ridges of the neighbouring properties either side, it meant that we needed to vault the first floor space. The best way of doing that is a ridge beam, and then just traditional rafters. We didn't have to do anything particularly difficult within terms of the thermal performance of the roof. We just used deep rafters, and then we capped the rafters off with insulating fibre, wood fibre board.
So as well as insulating it, we also had to make the building really airtight, and we recently actually had the building air tested. We were below the air changes required for Passivhaus. And how we did that is we basically wrapped the whole building in a membrane, which is taped and sealed to all our windows and doors. And then we put in mechanical ventilation with heat recovery.
So my favourite part of the house is that every time you come into the house, no matter what time of year it is, it's warm and it feels dry, rather than humid and stuffy. There's constant supply of fresh air. It just feels like summer all the time.
One of my favourite things is in summer having the beans outside the window and feeling like I'm living in a tree.
We thought we might live here for 6 months before moving on and selling up, but actually we love the house so much that we don't really want to leave.